Okay. Okay, so I have 15 to 20 minutes, right, sir?
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Yes, yes. What is
Evening.
my time?
Evening.
15 minutes? 20 minutes? Actually, your voice is breaking. I'm not getting the exact
Evening straight until 30 minutes, madam.
20
30 minutes.
minutes. Okay, okay, fine. Thank you so much. Well, it's yeah. So I'm without much ado. Let me.
As students, ma'am, I may also use Bengali. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, sure. Uh,
Okay.
well, thank you so much, host. And I'm here today to talk about a very buzzing issue, which is not a very new thing to all of us. We are very much exposed and very much aware, sensitized about the perspectives of inclusion, diversity when we talk about marginalization. And as the theme of this 2-day international seminar is on marginal voice of India perspectives on education, literature, politics, and culture. So my topic of this plenary lecture is very much related, and I think this will throw a bit of light upon our perspectives and nurture ourselves as educators, as practitioners, and also as teachers. So I will just give me a few seconds as I will share my screen. I believe my screen is visible to all of you. Okay. So this is the topic that I chose to discuss and express my views. Embracing diversity, empowering inclusion. So how can we go about it? How is it possible to embrace diversity and empower? And how can embracing diversity open the gates for empowering inclusion? Because we are here talking for the last 2 days about marginalized voice. So before we go into inclusion and diversity as the two poles, two parallels which do converge, how? Well, there is a bridge between this diversity and inclusion, which actually is the key towards empowering inclusion and embracing diversity. We all know that diversity is the ways in which each of us differ. And inclusion is a variety of people have power, a voice, and decision-making authority. Now, this is something which I think is not very much practiced in our culture of inclusion. This decision-making authority is also a pivotal part of inclusionary perspectives. And then there is equity. And we know this equity and inclusion is very much membered in SDG, in NEP. And before NEP and SDG, we did heard these words documented in various other education committee reports in India and abroad. So fair treatment, access, opportunity, advancement for all people, one's identity cannot predict the outcome. Well, here lies the bridge where diversity and inclusion can be bridged through fair treatment, through fair access, giving opportunity, and also towards all these should happen towards the advancement of all people. Now, this all is embracing diversity. So let us take a look at what social inclusion is according to UNESCO. And we are all aware of the pledge, leave no one behind, which is one of the defining features of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And these social transformations actually yielded this diverse landscape. And driven by the compounded impact of economic and social crisis and other challenges, resulting in growing inequalities within and among countries. UNESCO purports that peaceful, just, and inclusive societies is the need of the hour, where all human beings can fulfill their potential, minded in dignity and equality. This potential should be with dignity and equality. Specifically, goals 10 and 16 directly addresses social inclusion. And this is very important in the purview of embracing diversity, empowering inclusion. That is the reason I chose these two goals, which are pertinent in addressing social inclusion. Given the multidimensional nature, inclusion is also a key tenet in several other goals, mostly, as you can see, Goal 4, Goal 11, Goal 8, Goal 9, and Goal 5. These are the multidimensional forms which are mandated in the UNESCO 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which directly reverberates to the social inclusion. Now, let us come to some theoretical perspectives for our understanding. What is diversity? In a nutshell, it's about empowering people by respecting and appreciating what makes them different in terms of anything possible under the sun, be it age, gender, ethnicity, religion, disability, sexual orientation, education, and national origin. And in its very simplest form, it is being composed of different elements, isn't it? Of course, because in terms of all other factors, it is very much different. And in case of workplace, where diversity means that the workforce is made up of employees with different races, gender identities, career backgrounds, skills, and so on. So it is not just restricted to age, gender, ethnicity, religion, disability, sexual orientation, so on and so forth. Because we are embracing diversity towards empowering each one of us with the perspectives and culture of inclusion. And by embracing diversity, we actually make the communities and workplaces more productive, tolerant, and welcoming by respecting and appreciating. So this is diversity. And we are talking about to embrace this diversity, not only in the different forms of its age, gender, but also extending it to the identities, backgrounds, skills, and so on. Often we come across these diversity types in the workplace. And as the visual you are looking at is pretty clear, what are the different forms of internal diversity, external diversity, organizational diversity, and there are certain world views, the way diversity is imbibed and understood. There are certain political views. Some knowledge of history does give us an edge over the types of diversity. And of course, cultural events also adds to the diversity types. Now, the second part of this discussion is inclusion. Because by embracing diversity, what is diversity we have discussed? And now having the knowledge and the understanding of diversity, the extrapolated definition of diversity. We are sensitized now to know what is inclusion. It is an organizational effort. It is not an individual effort. It is not a special effort, but an organizational effort and practices in which different groups or individuals having different backgrounds are culturally and socially accepted and welcomed. This is how we are subsuming the marginalized voices, by including them, culturally and socially accepting them. Because I heard one of my friends long back, some 6 to 7 years back, she once, greeted me in on 3rd December, which is celebrated as the World International Day of Persons with Disabilities. She greeted with a very beautiful line, celebrating diversity, celebrating independence. So at this point of time, I really enjoy even, remembering that sentence. And it is only possible when we welcome them, all of us, even I am different. No one is perfect. No one is normal. We often say normal and disabled or normal and different. We all are different. So inclusion is the practice of providing everyone with equal access to opportunities and resources. And inclusion efforts in the workplace is very important, very, very important, because an educational institution, a society is not about only teaching learning, but it is much more than that. Feeling of inclusion is very important, and it is only possible if we give the voice to the marginalized groups, like those based on gender, race, or disabilities, a means for them to feel equal in the workplace too. And there are certain inclusive actions like creating employee resource groups or hosting information sessions, making the workplace a safer, more respectful environment for all the employees. Well, learners are one of the primary stakeholders of an education institution. But then there are other people who constitute the institution. So we have to be respectful towards them, and we should create that environment for all of them, all of us. This is a very common picture to understand inclusion, to segregate inclusion from exclusion, integration, and segregation. And this visual speaks it all. I don't think I should spend time going through this slide. Now, there is a difference between diversity and inclusion. Is there any difference? No, actually, it is a relationship. And I think you all, those who are present here, are reading out the bulleted points. And it is pretty clear to all of us how these two connects. As diversity refers to the differences in social, racial, cultural, socioeconomic backgrounds, etc., 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 that make individuals unique. And what does inclusion do? It refers to the conscious efforts, behavior, policies, and norms to make every person feel seen, heard, and valued with their unique differences. So this uniqueness in the diversity is nurtured with care, with respect. Bringing different people together in the same place is diversity, and the strategies and methods that help diversity work in an organization is inclusion. It is achieved when recruiters aim towards heterogeneity and fight any biases in the hiring process. Vis-a-vis, it is only achieved. This strategy is achieved only when all members in an organization feel psychologically safe and included. It relies on inclusion for successful execution, and inclusion is vital for diversity to work, because diversity is a spice of life. Why these two are essential, and why we often say that embracing diversity is actually stepping towards empowering ourselves in the philosophy of inclusion. As the time is short and I'm not going to take much of your time, so these are some of the essentials why diversity and inclusion are so very important, and has been one of the potential phrases in when we talk about marginalized voices, in the literature of marginalized voices. These are some of the benefits of fostering diversity and inclusion in the workplace. Since this is a nuanced approach, there are several benefits, layers of benefits, which will help us in ensuring inclusion by embracing diversity or fostering diversity. These are some of the ways to improve. You have inclusionary policies, you have inclusive practices, but then there is no limit to quality improvement. So there are, again, ways to improve diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And through such seminars, workshops, conferences, colloquia, we get to know the best practices. So these are some of the ways to improve diversity and inclusion in the workplace. Again, some strategies to be pinpointed, which help us in developing diversity and inclusion. Embracing diversity and empowering inclusion. There are some strategies like identify core organizational values. Data collection and assessment is very important before we go for any strategy, draft and implement a plan document, legal compliances, internal policies, and a support system. So this is a very systematic way of accepting and respecting. Conduct creative sensitization workshops, and I must congratulate the host college for organizing such a beautiful 2-day conference on this issue, because these events create better sensitization among all the stakeholders, among all the esteemed participants and dignitaries. We talk about, we culture, we discuss, and things get afresh, and also monitoring progress. This is some of the global perspective through the 3 lenses as diversity and inclusion is watched. You can see the time is running, so I think I should skip to the next slide. Few figures and trivia just as a backup of embracing diversity, why we are talking about embracing diversity, why all of us are spending 20 or 30 minutes of time when all of us are running. This is just because this is not a hoax. This is not just a call. The figures and trivia talks a lot. This is a small picture of diversity and inclusion in the Indian scenario. Thank you so much. And I think I have finished it within time. Host, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Over to you.